So welcome to the February 9th, 2022 meeting of the Senior Commission. Will the staff secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Ambrosi?
Here.
Commissioner Crawford?
Here.
Commissioner Garibaldi?
Here.
Commissioner Knapp?
Here.
Commissioner Rain?
Here.
Commissioner Zamora?
Here.
So will Commissioner Garibaldi please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can the secretary read the procedure for addressing the commission?
Citizens addressing the commission during public comment are asked to approach the podium and are limited to 3 minutes unless extended by the chair, and must be regarding items that are not listed on the agenda and are within the city's jurisdiction. The Brown Act does not permit any action or discussion on items not listed on the agenda. No action will be taken on items addressed under public comments.
So I will open up for public comments, but it doesn't seem that we have anybody here to give public comments today. So we'll move on. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our last meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I have to abstain since I was not there.
Great. One abstention. Thank you. So we're going to move on to the next section. We are looking at item number 6 on our agenda, appointment of new chair and vice chair. Jeff?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, commissioners. Welcome to the first meeting of 2022. So at the beginning of each year, we need to appoint a new chair and vice chair. And so at this time, I will turn it back to the commissioners to nominate a chair and vice chair.
I'd like to make a nomination that we keep the chair that we have, Lola.
Thank you.
Second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? Okay. So then I make a nomination that we keep our vice chair, Mike Garibaldi. So everybody,
I'll second.
okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? No? All right. We have our chair and vice chair for 2022.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So moving on. Let's move to item 6.2, older adult programming and event update. Laura Bell.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. So I've been in the position as the FAB coordinator for about 6 weeks now. And in that time, we've slowly but surely been able to bring some of our FAB programming back to the community center. When we last met in November, we were offering a very limited lineup of activities, and a FAB membership was not required at that time to participate in those activities. We have since added a handful more of activities to our FAB programming lineup, like dominoes and an extra day of bingo. We will have FAB Friday Flicks and Wii Sports starting this month, along with adding bocce ball in the spring. We are in the process of bringing back our FAB volunteers to the center, as well as having our lounge open with coffee, and that will be opening again the week of March 7th. Our FAB memberships will be required again on March 1st. And then as COVID numbers hopefully continue to fall, we will look forward to bringing back FAB events, day trips, our lunch bunch group, and offer more off-campus activities, as well as expanding programming into West Roseville. At the last meeting, you spoke about wanting to have a smartphone class available to our local residents. I have connected with the field operations specialist at California Telephone Access Program, and we are having a meeting next week to talk about offering those courses here in Roseville in the spring, hopefully. And then the second update I have is with our Age Well Roseville Summit event. We briefly talked about that last time. The Age Well Roseville Summit will be part of our Be Well Roseville initiative, which is a new initiative that we have designed with the mission to create and promote a healthier city. The Agewell Roseville Summit is a free event. There will be a Senior Services Expo, a variety of demonstrations and workshops on health and fitness, as well as guest speakers. The event will be held on April 7th at the Roseville Sports Center from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And so far, the planning is going well. Vendor and sponsorship applications went out a few weeks ago, and we will start really marketing the event here in the coming weeks. And like I said, sponsorships are available, so if you guys know anyone. So
I have a question.
Yes.
Because last time it was the last minute, but we need to have a booth that says about the senior commission and what our goals are. Is that happening for sure?
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks.
You're already on the little map.
Good.
Definitely will have you have a presence there.
Can I ask a question about the sponsorships?
Yeah.
Have you approached Sun City, the Sun City Roseville Development Homeowners Association, that group, to perhaps be a sponsor of this event?
We've approached, I haven't seen the finalized list of who they contacted for sponsorships. I do believe they were on that, but I don't know for certain. Yeah.
Who is handling the sponsorships?
One of our recreation coordinators and one of our librarians.
Okay. And do we know how many sponsors we're looking for?
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, we'll take as many sponsors as we can. However, there are different levels of sponsorship, and so I'll leave that up to them and how many they feel are necessary.
And does each sponsor get a booth?
Yes.
Any other questions?
I do. At this event, is it going to be indoors at the in those big rooms? And is it going to be where people just come in and walk around and get information, or is there going to be some demonstrations? Like, for example, like a class, say someone was interested in the class, would there be someone there to show it? Or,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yes, there'll be the expo portion, which will be senior services and vendors. And then there will be an aspect with demonstrations as well as guest speakers.
Oh,
And they'll
that's
be in a variety of rooms at that
Oh,
facility.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? No? Well, thank you, Laura. Appreciate the
Yeah.
update.
Thank you.
Sorry, I do have a question. Are we going to sign up again to help man the table so that there's only X amount of us there at a time? Okay, and then if one of us is looking to also be a sponsor, obviously I can still be in the same room at the same time. Okay, perfect, thank you.
Great. All right, we will move forward to our next item, 6.3 on the agenda, Parks, Recreation, and Library Strategic Master Plan Update. Jeff?
Yeah, so I just want to kind of give the commission just a little bit of an update of where we're at today with the strategic master plan. So if you recall, the strategic master plan started back in June of 2021. The purpose of the Roseville Parks, Recreation, and Library Strategic Master Plan is to serve as a roadmap of where we are heading and how to best provide services to the community for the next 10 to 15 years. The plan will provide the city with strategic direction that is necessary to meet the park, recreation, and library needs of current and future Roseville residents and visitors. The community input is a key component to developing a comprehensive parks, recreation, and library system. Therefore, over the past several months, Pros Consulting, along with city staff, have conducted a number of stakeholder, city partner, and city department focus groups to gather feedback and input. In October of 2021, a statistically valid survey was sent out to a random sample of the community with the goal to receive 400 completed surveys. We received 542, which was well above the expectation, which we were very pleased with. In early December, a simplified version of the statistically valid survey was opened up online for anyone in the community to complete. Their survey closed in January with 1,438 responses. Again, based on the feedback we have from our consulting group, was an impressive number. So, in addition to community input, the consulting team and Roseville Parks Recreation Library staff identified operating metrics to benchmark against comparable recreation providers. The goal of this analysis is ensuring direct comparison through a methodology of statistics and ratios to provide accurate information and an objective analysis. So when we went out to benchmark other agencies similar to ours. We went out and received, we targeted, I think, 14 or 15 agencies. We got 11 or 12 responses back, so which is, again, pretty good. So we're able to kind of see where we stack up with other agencies in a variety of different areas. On Thursday, February 17th at 6:30 p.m., Pros Consulting, in collaboration with the Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Department, will be hosting a virtual community workshop that will focus on the key findings of this needs survey. This workshop is open to the public, and anyone can participate by registering at www.futureprl.com. We highly encourage and welcome the Roseville community to take part in this workshop. Lastly, it is the goal of the Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Department to have a first draft of the Strategic Master Plan in April or May, with the final plan in July. I'm open to any questions you may have regarding the Strategic Master Plan.
I have a question.
You bet.
In that it really is this next year, we come up to be evaluating our plan we had in place for the Roseville for AARP, where we recognized as age-friendly city community. All that work that you're doing leads to that report. Are you planning to, because you've done the survey, you've got all the data, and that should lead this commission in looking at our goals and making sure they match what people feel that's needed. And we should take that feedback and work from there. And also renew that we keep looking at, it's similar things, I'm sure, transportation and communication that usually come up to the surface, so that we can continue with that distinction.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with the Strategic Master Plan as well, so when we get this plan done in April, or I'm sorry, in July, it'll be a time as well that how can we connect that with, I think you're referencing the age-friendly report, the WHO report. And then to your point, Bobby, I think it'll be in our best interest to see what are the needs, what's the community telling us, and how do we, although we have goals, we can always add to that based on the needs and start identifying where we might need to go to address some of the feedback we get out of these surveys.
I think that's critical
Yes.
to what the report will be, and that if we have to adjust or finite, but it usually comes up communication and transportation, and we keep working on defining that better, and you've done a really good job of setting the stage for what is it that the community is looking for.
Yeah, these reports will be very helpful, and we're excited because I think we've seen some preliminary numbers. We're still synthesizing the information. We see a lot of areas where we're hitting the mark. We also see some areas where we need to improve, and I think that's what we're chomping at the bit of, kind of going, let's start grabbing onto that, and how do we just improve some of those areas that we might be lacking in. Mm-hmm. And so I know staff are just like, let's go, let's move on and let's start making some change. So we're really motivated by the feedback. We're motivated by the community response, which has been exciting. The amount of people who want to be involved and provide input, and that's really what drives this plan. And we do kind of what the community is telling us to do, and they're telling us a lot of good things. So we're excited.
Where are the surveys that you just mentioned published at?
The surveys are, so all the surveys are closed in regards to providing input, but as the consultants are starting to synthesize and put that information into a readable form, at that Thursday, February 17th workshop, some of that information will be shared to kind of share with the community what information we got. And then at some point, then that information will start to go on probably that future PRL website for people to review. So I think
if there's anything that's specifically relevant to the senior commission and what we need to be looking at, will you share that with us?
100%, yeah.
The commission.
Yeah, once all that data is kind of put together, what we can do is start pulling out information that's very relevant to the aging community and analyze that and see what we might need to do. Yeah, and really, and celebrate the things that are being said that we're doing good stuff. So.
Right, and that's important to have in the report also. But I just want to make sure, part of the thing is to make sure that we're aligning to what the city wants, but we're also included in that piece.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would love to remind everybody that the size of the older adult audience that we're talking about here who live in the city of Roseville is nearly 150,000 people. So that's about 18%, not quite 18% of the population. So when we see surveys like this, and they said it was a good sample size, it seems small, right? What percentage of the entire population was that?
I'm not quite sure. And we, to be quite honest, we thought the same. We thought, that's not enough feedback. But, kind of going and aligning kind of what those consultants are telling us, going, your feedback is higher than most agencies that they get. We were pretty excited about that. And again, I think they were pretty excited to see the volume of feedback that they got. But we said the same thing. We're like, if there's 150,000 people and we only get 1,400 responses, how, but sometimes no news is good news is kind of what we're told. But we're happy with what we have. And, we see trends, which is important. And at that point, that's where we start to address where we need to make change potentially.
Thank you.
Well, I also think that during COVID, people were really not looking to respond to anything because they didn't think they should be going out, particularly the senior age group. And so I'm not surprised that there was less engagement than there might have been during a time when people are more active and thinking ahead, like what can I get involved in? So I think that the consultants probably read it right when they said, well, this is a good response because they're doing this all the time and they see it.
Any other questions or comments, feedback? All right, thank you. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which is 6.4, Senior Commission 2022 Goal Updates. Jeff?
Yeah, so it's just really following up and getting an update on the goals that were identified at the November workshop. So just as a reminder, I just kind of want to hit the three goals that we identified. Was one, to improve communication with the senior community about available programs in the city and county, possibly a senior services fair similar to what was done in the past. As you heard from Laura, we're somewhat addressing that with this Age Well Roseville Summit and Expo. Get the seniors in Roseville computer and smartphone illiterate to increase communication and reduce isolation. Again, I think, as Laura mentioned, we're working on trying to put together some classes for cell phone use for that aging population. And the third goal, create strategic partnerships with nonprofit and local businesses, including realtors, digital experts, resource centers, et cetera. So I think at this, I know we talked about the SMART goals and I know we received some of that information, but I think at this point, just really getting an idea kind of where we might be with some of the goals for those that were assigned those specific areas.
So I have a question. Since we have two of the three goals, it looks like we're going to accomplish, right? Then does that change the work groups and how does that impact the commission?
I guess it potentially could. The only challenge is if we have, correct me if I'm wrong, if we have more commissioners on a goal, then we got to be careful with the Brown Act. And I think maybe that's kind of why we stuck with the 2 commissioners per goal. Then we wouldn't violate that. So I think we would have to think through how if there were more commissioners wanted to attack maybe that third goal.
Team Zamora can use some more commissioners on hers as Commissioner Perry did step off.
Yeah.
So it is just me and the improved communication. So maybe we do have some flexibility there to do that. So we did do some groundwork before he left. So we have some of that already, but for sure we can continue.
So Nicole, knowing that there's going to be a fair, does that meet the needs of the goal that your committee set, or is there other items on that?
There are other items. So the fair definitely helps in doing that, right? But and even with the communication of how are we getting it out? How do the rest of the, citizens of Roseville know? Do the folks over at Sun City know? Are we sharing that information when they have their own community fair, which is either the week before or after, because I'm attending both fairs. So, just to continue to make sure that we're sharing it, because I do think it's good. So there is, more. We can never communicate enough, I think, because, it does take people quite some time to hear the message.
And another communication I think we'd like to see is actually having the public attend some of these meetings. And so perhaps that could be added to that list.
I do think that was one of the things we had listed in there too, as we were kind of looking, wouldn't it be great? I mean, I remember one of my favorite one of these meetings was when we had the pickleball folks come in, right? It was exciting. It was exciting to have someone from the community come in to share that information with us, which then in turn helped us all know, right, there are more pickleball options, or, it's a way that we can work on it. So, yeah, I do think if the community were here, they were able to share with us, then that just simply lets us know more.
And then that crosses over with the strategic partnerships, because we want more speakers to come in and educate us on what the offerings are for older adults here in the city. And then if we had public people here to actually listen, that would be great.
And that is a goal of ours, is, I think we had somebody lined up for this meeting. Schedules didn't work out, but I think one of the goals for us is to bring a speaker or two, a presenter, in each of these meetings, just to provide the community with services and resources for the aging community, what is out there, maybe what's relevant during that time, things like safety, or I know we talked about scams at one point, so bringing Roseville PD in to talk about scammers and how to recognize, how to address it. So I know that's one of our goals is, moving forward, the next meeting and therefore is to bring some of those people in there. And that might bring in more public to kind of listen to that, or maybe have an opportunity to have questions. So that is a strategy of ours for sure.
Okay. And then our other goal on education as far as computer literacy, what do we think that going forward with these smartphone classes is enough, or are there other things that the committee would like to see?
I think start with the classes and see where it goes. I've tried to reach out communication-wise to contact real estate agents, and I made a number of phone calls, never heard a word back. So if somebody has any contacts with somebody in real estate that could help us there, that would certainly be beneficial. It's a little disappointing. At least call back and say I'm not interested, but they don't even call back. So
I think what I'm going to try is to, I noticed, I've been reading the Roseville, and the library provides computer classes. So I really need, I'm on that the computer and phone task force. And I have always at the library, so I'm really going to make an attempt this time to speak with someone there and really see exactly what those classes entail. And if it's something that fits in with what we're doing, then I can maybe, come back here and talk with my committee, because they're very helpful there. I was there and I was just roaming around, and someone came, can I help you? And within seconds, he solved my problem. So I think I just have to follow up with them. They're very open to that. And see, what I'm saying, exactly what those computer classes are. So we're not trying to have something we already have. We just need to publicize it.
And there's so many different areas of technology that we could learn about. And it's not just how to turn on the phone or access a browser, but how do you keep track of all your passwords? What happens if you can't get into your bank?
That's a good idea.
With online banking, there's so many different aspects to that.
My son, he actually put out an ad in Sun City through the neighborhood app, right? Not him himself, because I don't let him do it, so through me. He actually got a client, and it was a wonderful older gentleman that just wanted to organize his Google email. In doing that, my son went over, sat with him, was able, and then more questions came up that the older gentleman himself didn't even want to let other folks know, because he felt kind of embarrassed, right? Like, how do I do this? One is a mom, I was proud, right? And then I was like, how did this teenager actually interact? Like, what was that like? But they formed a great friendship. So I'm wondering, too, as we're continuing this, right, could it be something that they could do, our high schoolers, right? Could it be something that they could do as that follow-up? So maybe it's a class, you learn something, but then, right, we all know sometimes you go home and you're like, my computer didn't look exactly like their computer, and so could we use the students, of our different high schools to go in? The ones that wanted, most of them need, community service, and if they don't, then they should, because it helps them anyway. So I do think that was a wonderful partnership. And then, of course, then the next thing was the gentleman got a electronic computer game from one of his grandchildren. Never played it because there was no one ever to play it with him or to set it up. So again, my son went in, was like, well, I don't know, I've never heard of this game. So, I do think it's that way. Granted, not every teenager is, willing to do that, but I do think it's that continued success and feeling safe. Once maybe, too, it's not always in front of a class. Sometimes maybe you don't want to ask in a class because you're like, oh, everybody else knows that. Why do I not know it?
And it was my understanding that at some point in the past that we did have a relationship with the Roseville High School, and we had something about the volunteer hours that students could take advantage of. Does anybody here recall what that was?
Yes, we work with both Oakmont and Roseville. They have community service they need to do, and there were groups that work with older people as well as younger. We had older people doing with grade schools tutorship because they wanted to do that, and were former school teachers actually, and wanted to do things as a volunteer. That's when we started looking at volunteerism. Also, within the senior class, they have community service requirements in some of their curriculum, and they loved working with older people. It was amazing. We had one senior working with somebody in my neighborhood, and she went on to work with seniors. So it became and they still are very close together because they're mentoring each other about what's happening. I just think it's exciting, and to repeat that story, and if we could repeat it many times, it starts to engage the older and the younger. I mean, I was stuck on the phone, and the 3-year-old helped me. So those are fun stories. But I think if we formalize even more so the communication, the relationship between seniors, because one of the other things that I think I could bring, because I'm on the OAAC, which is the Placer County older adult, and then I have a contact with somebody who's on the state one, so that we kind of look like we're lining up, and with that is 7 counties. So what are they doing that works that maybe we can lift? We all are very much sharing what works and what doesn't work. And one of them is keeping aging in place is kind of have warm handoffs. Don't leave somebody on a phone and let them, I don't know how many times I hear stories, punch 9, punch 8, punch 6, and even I've been that way. I just want to talk to a real person. Nothing matches. And help people through this. So sometimes it's just a matter of getting to the resource. It's there. They just don't know. And with people talking to each other and starting to be aware of this, and nothing like high schoolers working with older people to help them stay in place. And if they have a knowledge that's good for them about, oh, well, I just helped somebody get, during a pandemic, she couldn't get any food, she couldn't get out, and hooked her up with, Meals on Wheels. A way around. Some of the things were closed, but it's just a matter of starting to have a conversation with all of us. We have a Friday evening, we just call it happy hour, in our community, a little community, where we share a lot of these things. And so I think more and more as we start to get the information out and about and sharing it in any way we can, it's really important. People get surprised about how much Roseville's doing. And we also need to let other people, like at Placer County, I let them know how much we're doing in Roseville. And a lot of people like to copy some of the things that we're doing. So we actually are highly regarded in some of these things like housing, which is done in a different section in your city. But it's nice to let people know what we're doing. It's not like we're not doing anything. So
Could we have a booth from a particular high school or a couple of high schools that could get information on seniors that need help with computers or phones or anything like that? Or could we, when we're there with our booth, could we get a list, have people sign up? Do you need help with your phone or with your computer at home? Maybe we can hook you up with a student that can come over and see you. So this would be a great place at the summit to get people to sign up, or have high school students there that are volunteers that could go out and help people with computers.
I think there's value in that, and I think that's something we can explore a little further on. One, at the Age Welfare Summit and Expo, how do we do that? But we can also kind of start exploring, to Bobby's point. I mean, I remember, I don't know, it's 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when the high school, Roseville specifically, there were certain days that were dedicated to kind of this partnering up with a high school and a senior, and they did a variety of things. And I remember it was kind of right when I came into that the Mida Community Center. It was one of those programs that was talked about a lot. I don't know why it went away, but it's something we can certainly kind of re-explore to see how we can get back into the high schools.
Yes.
And to see how they could, because I think there's a big value in that generation of high school kids kind of working with that senior population. And I think there can be a lot of good things there. So it's something we can certainly explore and to see if that program, how we could bring that program back, or do they have that program? But we can certainly start asking
Might have
those
stopped
questions.
with COVID,
Sure.
everything
Yeah.
down, but I think it's
Yeah.
got great value to start it up again.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to go in and talk to a classroom. So regardless if it's
Okay.
about volunteer hours, or if it's just teaching them what it means to be an older adult living in a community, in the city of Roseville, I'd
Sure.
be happy to do that.
Yeah, and
All
as
of us should be, able to do that. I mean, all of us on the commission, that's part of what we need to do, is let them know what we're here to connect together. We don't have to reinvent wheels. We need to make the connections, and that's the piece over the number of years that I've been on the commission, is there are a lot of resources, people just don't know them. And they get frustrated, and they end up with family that may be in another part of the country, not knowing who to contact and putting them in assisted living at $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 a month, and they're unhappy. I'm actually working with some clients that I actually had that's happened, and they would have been so much better at home. And that's kind of what the mission of the Placer County and many counties are, to have people age in place as long as possible. They can't always be there. There's many things that happen. But as long as the people there, it's familiar, they have their friends, that we look at resources to support that mission, and then help them transition when they have to transition.
Yeah, I would say as a mom of a teenager, I definitely saw the change in him, and that was good to see. It was wonderful that this was, part of what he created and he wanted to do. So I, definitely, if there's anything, I can share with the principal there at Roseville. We're proud of Roseville High School. My son goes there, so please let us know. However, we can do. I think it would be great. I would say it's probably because of COVID, right? The students aren't really going out and doing a lot of different things, but maybe there's a way we
Absolutely.
can work around or through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the power in Roseville City going and reaching out to the high schools, because then it could become a formalized program rather than little individual things. Because I would like to see it established and continue on and for years. I think COVID, you're right, whoever said COVID, I think COVID has stopped a lot of things, and people just haven't gotten to put it back together again, because a lot of new people, they don't realize what was there before. And that was a powerful program, as you remember.
Yeah.
And I think that leadership from the city is a really important factor. The schools are overwhelmed with all of the things that they've had to pick up during COVID. And so I think that for the city to take the initiative and make the outreach and try to develop the program in a really strong way is the key to making it successful. I have grandchildren who've been through Wood Creek High, and I know that, the one who's now at UC Davis had a different experience at Wood Creek than the one that's the 11th grader there this year. So literally his whole time in high school, he's been in a COVID high school, so under different conditions. So I think that, really the schools have been severely impacted. And I think that the city staff and the Parks and Rec staff would be really great to take up some of that initiative.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we'll explore that for sure. We'll kind of see where we're at with where the schools are at.
Well, we can see through this discussion how interrelated the three goals are when it comes to educating older adults, creating strategic partnerships with other organizations, as well as the communication needs. So, I'm happy to see that we're making progress on all of these, and it's just going to continue to be a lot of hard work for everyone.
Yes. Yep.
Anything else regarding the goals? Okay. Well, let's see here. That was all of our items for today. So, are we on number 7? Okay. So do you have any updates or comments for the commission? Staff? No?
I think we're good.
And commission members, do you have any comments or updates for the staff?
No.
Well, I would just like to say thank you. Thank you for listening, right, as we have been presenting different things. I think it's good to see that we will have the summit, that there, is the FAB classes are back. That is wonderful. And there's ways. It's very hard, and as you're planning things and then, oh, nope, we can't do this, or this is now here. But again, I think, right, we're learning to pivot and continue to go. And so I would just like to thank the staff for listening to us. It's slow, but at least we can start to see some things on there.
Appreciate that, yes.
Thank you.
Laura, if you need volunteers from us, how do you want us to go about volunteering at a desk at the event?
Let me circle back with you guys on that. Let me check in with the committee members of that event and just make sure we know how we want to do it. I got to talk to Mike over here and make sure we don't break any rules as far as the Brown Act, but we'll probably just send out an email and have you guys pick a time, and then you come at your time is my guess.
That's how it worked last time, pretty much.
And
Yep.
what I think would be really good is that everybody's got a sheet or something that all the different things that you provide. I mean, it was like we walked around and discovered the exercise thing between the two buildings, and people were amazed. A lot of people came by and went, I wonder what that is, and kept on walking. So I think we would be a really big help in the booth in saying, come to our programs, look what we have. Mm-hmm. What else would you like to see? I'm hearing from people they would like kind of an art class or something. I think some of them are from Sun City, and they would like something to be provided by the city besides the Sierra College does that. But a lot of these things were closed during COVID, and I think it would be a nice spot to fill if you had interest groups that maybe did something different for a spring or for winter or something. I just like that feedback where people feel they're being heard, and then we get the communication of what you're really doing that they have no clue out to them. And by word of mouth, it's amazing how people get together and share.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bobby. Anybody else? I just had one small thing that I wanted to address, and that was.
I guess I would say that if you have a topic or if you have a contact that you feel would benefit this commission and benefit the community, let me know. I think we have no problem doing the legwork of making the contacts and trying to schedule them. That way we know if they can't attend a certain commission meeting that we try to push them off to the next one, and we try to book that. So that's I would recommend if you have a contact or if a really good topic, even if you don't have a contact but you have a topic, send it my way, and then we can start exploring and doing some research and trying to find somebody who can come and present on whatever topic that might be.
And we did talk earlier about having the Chamber of Commerce
Yeah.
potentially somebody from the chamber coming. And then just now we talked about the school system, so maybe there's somebody to talk about volunteering with high school students.
Absolutely.
So, okay, great. And then a couple other small things. One, we talked about potentially putting together a letter to the city council on what we're doing here on the commission.
Yeah, I think, I know we talked about, I believe, at the last commission meeting of maybe this commission attending a city council meeting and getting in front of the city council to kind of maybe highlight really what we're doing. I think what we'd like to do is the first step is producing a GIM to the commission, or to the city council, and trying to outline, where we at with the senior commission, what are some of our goals, what are we working towards, and utilizing that as a first method of communication to the council to give them kind of an update of where we're at and what we're doing. And so I think what I would do is, put something together and then send it out to the commissioners to kind of see if I'm on track, we're on line of what we want to inform the city council. So I'll start drafting a GIM and then sending that out and letting you guys take a look at it and seeing what we might want to add or take off or what we want to.
What does GIM stand for?
General Information Memo.
A memo, okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I also have, when I met with the city council member, we started trying to think about an annual report. Do you have that to start from? Because that's a lot of what we accomplished over that 5 years before, because we felt the council really didn't understand who we are and what we did, and we wanted to do what they needed. We're here to help them out for what they need, not always identify what we feel, but communicate with them.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a copy, I do. I can give
Okay.
it to you, because we had met with them and shared what we had, because a lot of them didn't know what we really stood for.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of new people.
Right. So yeah, I would like, I mean, I'm sure I can find the report, but if you have it too, I'd like to look at that for sure, make sure I'm getting what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And perhaps we could schedule that like in late March at the council meeting, because we could then preview and advertise this event. We could be talking about how we have a vacancy and, and by being in front of the council, a lot of people watch that meeting. And that way, maybe people who'd never thought of being on the senior commission before would say, oh, when is that filing period and could I apply? So I think that to find a replacement for a recent resignation, I think this would be a great opportunity, because we also have something substantive to show that we're doing, that the staff is doing, and we're working with them. And that might generate more interest.
So if we were to do that as public members, right, if we were to come in as the public and walk up to the podium and give our little presentation like that, how many of us could go without breaking the Brown Act?
There's an exemption in the Brown Act for public meetings like that, so you could all attend if you wanted to. It would just be a matter of if you're going to speak at the designated public comment kind of section of the meeting. That's probably what we would recommend, other than there's 2 public comment periods, I believe now. There's one right at the beginning of the meeting, which would probably be the most convenient to get up and speak at, and then there's one at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Fantastic.
But oftentimes there's a presentation by city departments, and so I think just getting the city manager to help get it on the schedule, if there were an opportunity to do that, I think could really elevate the visibility of the senior commission and help generate more applicants.
Well, yeah, we'll certainly look into that. I think, I think the desire was to start with the GIM, and then I think we're at February 9th right now. I think we would probably shoot for the second meeting in March. It would be our goal. There's a process, as you can imagine, as far as getting on the agenda, and I certainly want to have some time to draft the GIM and then give you commissioners the opportunity to look at it and beat it up a little bit and provide your feedback. And so I'll look at timelines, and if it makes sense that we can get something on, get a GIM pushed through late March, that would be ideal. But
Fantastic. Anything else, commissioners? No? All right. Well, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. No one opposed. So that's it for today. Thank you very much.